Hello, I'm Victor, and this is the Junkyard. Remember those cheap horror films of the 1930s and 40s? The ones that are now collectively referred to as the Universal Monster movies? I have watched more of those than any sane man should admit. There's, Bela Lugosi as Dracula, Boris Karloff as Frankenstein's monster, and Lon Chaney, my personal favorite, as the Wolfman. Those things are classic. Now what if I told you that there was one movie made where you could see Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Wolfman all in one movie? Well, you'd say, I saw Van Helsing, it sucked. And I'd say, no, I mean an old black and white one. And you'd say, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein? That sucked too. And I'd say, no, House of Dracula! Damn it!
Sorry about that. Anyway, on to the movie. We open to a shot of the inside of a woman's bedroom when suddenly a bat flies into view, assisted by some very visible strings. Awesome. Time for some Bela Lugoodness. The bat takes human form and...
What the hell?
Yeah, that's actually John Carradine as Dracula. Along with this, Frankenstein's creature, who for convenience sake I'm gonna just call Frankie from now on, is played by Glenn Strange. Only the Wolfman is played by his original actor here. Sorry, suckers! Anyway, we next see Dracula waking up a scientist, Dr. Franz Edelman. Drac explains his situation, that he is cursed to drink the blood of the living to sustain his own eternal life, and asks the doctor, a great scientist of unspecified speciality, if he can help. After some coaxing, he agrees to help this, he presumes, delusional man. After he and his hunchbacked assistant, a lovely and likable nurse named Nina, discover that Dracula's blood has a previously unknown parasite feeding off of the red blood cells, they decide on a course of antivirus and transfusions for Mr. the Impaler. While administering this, Lawrence Talbot, the Wolfman's tortured better half, shows up seeking help. Being told by Melissa, the doctor's other, theoretically but not really, hotter assistant, that Edelman won't be able to see him for over an hour, Talbot runs out of the building, saying there's no time. Well, after the transfusion, they find Talbot, by his own insistence, in jail, where he explains that he is a werewolf. The doctor says,
Listen to me, Talbot. There's no such thing as a werewolf.
To which Talbot replies,
Owned.
Anyway, the doctor decides to help him out, and later, after establishing that Melissa has taken a shine to the poor dope, Talbot discovers that his condition is the result of self-delusion and his skull putting unusual pressure on certain parts of the brain. All of this, under the right circumstances, affects Talbot's transformation.
Man, I wish I knew some phrenology jokes. That's funny either way. In the second film, Lawrence Talbot came back from the dead by the power of his weird skull. My entire family line has funky skulls. By this film's logic, at least one of us should have developed superpowers by now.
Anywho, the doctor explains that he has developed a plant whose extract can soften bone, theoretically allowing him to fix Talbot's head, as well as Nina's back. But it will take several months to grow enough to do the job, and Talbot, despairing at the idea of having to live through another full moon as a monster, once again runs out of the building and throws himself off a cliff. The doctor speculates that Larry might still be alive in one of the caves at the base of the cliff and foolishly decides to go investigate during the full moon. There's a half-assed explanation given for why he had to go down while the moon was full, but we'll call it plot convenience. Anyway, the Wolfman attacks Edelman, but the moon sets before he can do the deed. And for those of you with sick minds, let me clarify that I meant murder. Well, Doc and Larry have a heart-to-heart, and he convinces our lycanthropic hero to be patient. They also discover that the cave is, by coincidence, a perfect place to grow the squishy head plant in larger quantities, meaning that Talbot should be able to get treated within the month. Oh, and right before they find a secret entrance to the castle from the caves, they find Frankie mostly dead. Next, the mummy ghost Edelman complaining of dry skin, then the creature from the Black Lagoon asks what he can do about fin rot, and the Invisible Man consults him about his self-image problems. We then see the doctor, having apparently gotten all of his best mad scientist equipment out of storage, about to revive Frankie. Larry and Nina beg him not to do something so obviously boneheaded, and the doctor eventually agrees, though with obvious disappointment.
Sad thing is, this guy who immediately decides to resurrect the immortal killing machine has the best impulse control of any scientist in the entire Universal movie series. It's like a dead raccoon at the side of the road. All the kids have to poke it whether it's a good idea or not.
We then finally come back to Drac, who is currently trying to get under Melissa's skirt using his creepy hypnotist charms. Nina witnesses Dracula, reflectionless, escorting Melissa outside and goes to tell the doctor. Realizing now that Dracula is the real deal, Doc goes out to interrupt the vampire, telling him that he'd like to try another transfusion. He has some sort of plan, but before he can put it into action, Dracula hypnotizes Edelman and Nina and injects some of his own blood into the doctor.
Dun, dun, dun!
Anyway, they wake up in time to stop Dracula from biting Melissa, and the doctor pursues the vampire down to his coffin. The sun comes up, and Edelman drags the Nosferatu into the light, killing him. Hooray! That is, until the doctor finds himself undergoing a Jekyll and Hyde-style transformation, where he fantasizes about unleashing Frankie on an unsuspecting village. He even starts trying to resurrect the creature, and is only stopped by an equipment failure. After coming back to his senses, he confides in Nina, telling her that they'll have to do the surgery on her back immediately, before another episode takes him. Nina refuses, telling Edelman to help Talbot first.
Wow, Nina's such a brave and selfless character, and with the obvious chemistry that she and Talbot share, I think there's some romance in the air.
And indeed, after the operation, while Talbot waits for the next full moon to tell him if he is indeed cured, he starts to get romantically involved with... Melissa? Seriously? Why does this make me fear for Nina's safety? Anyway, Edelman has another episode during which he kills Hans after a delightfully creepy dialogue.
See, you are afraid of me. You're driving faster and faster so that you can get into the village and tell the police.
Why? Why should I want to tell the police anything?
Because you're afraid I'm going to kill you.
Kill me? Doctor?
Yes. You've seen what's happened to your old friend. He doesn't want anybody but himself to know about that.
No, Doctor. I will never tell.
That's right, Siegfried. You never will.
This gets him chased by the mandatory mob of villagers back to the castle, where he is able to throw them off his trail long enough to see that Talbot's operation was a success. Unfortunately, while the rest celebrate, Edelman sneaks off to have another episode where Nina witnesses the rebirth of the Frankenstein monster. Edelman notices her and starts accusing Nina of spying. She goes to try and help her old friend, and he kills her.
Ha! Serves her right for being a physically imperfect woman in a feature film.
After this, Talbot confronts and kills Adelheid and then takes care of Frankie. The film ends as flames consume the monster. Okay, first of all, this was a really short ending. The entire confrontation between Talbot, Adelheid, and Frankie took less than a minute and a half. Secondly, it occurs to me that the only two monsters that appear together on film are Frankie and Adelheid. Otherwise, Dracula, Wolfman, and the monster never even occupy the same room. This may have something to do with the fact that the film has one of the best plots I've seen in any of these Universal monster movies, but I don't know why that would be the case. Third, I really don't like what they did to Nina. I wouldn't mind if she was just killed for the sake of drama, but I can't shake the feeling that the movie makers were just saying that since Edelman could no longer fix her back, her life wasn't worth living anyway.
Anyway, that was House of Dracula. It was a pretty good film, despite the fact that the acting was atrocious. I think Bela Lugosi really would have added to it as Dracula, but Carradine did a pretty good job. I'd suggest tracking down this film if you like vampire movies, werewolf movies, or Frankenstein movies. Well, this has been Victor with the Junkyard. Thanks for watching. Wait a minute. None of this took place in Dracula's house.